Yo, what it do, guys? It is your boy, Leo Mookie here, back with you with another new chapter of, or the true official chapter of, the hero's last master. And allow me to apologize, guys. Originally, I wanted to get this chapter out as soon as possible, like that of a week after, like the last chapter, but unfortunately, that was easier said than done. The reason being is because I had to go over that of the events in grand order after all, and put my story together and reactions as well. Not only that, I had to do that of a somewhat major / minor retcon, and that was the time that Yusa became the master of Chaldea after all, or rather, the last master of humanity, and also on how if he was also the one that kind of replaced that of Ritsuka. I will say this already. No, he did not. At least not after that of the Singularities, though. But I'll get into that later on. At any rate, a little bit of a quick recap. A young man that looks like that of a mixture of African American and Japanese, with that of a young woman with tan skin and quite the revealing outfit that also looks like a mix of feudal era attire. Look down on that of a district city of Tokyo known as Masafu Prefecture. This was the young man's, former hometown. And in this hometown lies that of another young man by the name of Izuku Midoriya, a quirkless boy who dreams of becoming a hero, just like his idol. However, it seems that all of society, alongside that of the world itself, wants to constantly put him down. Even his former best friend, and even including that of his idol throughout his entire childhood, All Might telling him that it's impossible to become a hero without a quirk. Even was planning on taking Bakugo's advice to unalive himself, but instead, he keeps on to the one memory that was always happy about the one person that wasn't his mother, that told him that he can become a hero, even without a quirk. That being a young man by the name of Yusa. With then, Izuku getting involved in another villain attack, dealing with the same villain that tried to attack him before All Might showed up, being the sledge villain, trying to save Bakugo, while the heroes stand on the side. As Izuku went in to save Bakugo, little did he know he was also going to be saved by that of the young man from before, and the young woman too, until All Might stepped in, defeated the villain with that of his Detroit Smash, before the other villains were planning on scolding Izuku and the other two, before the young man gave in his identity by the name of Yutaro Carson. So, with all that said, let's get into this, shall we, guys? Chapter 1, Boy to Hero. Currently in the Masafu Police Department, and that's of an interrogation room. The young woman by the name of Okada Soji basically is in an interrogation room with a few police officers trying to get information out of her. However, she's ignoring each and every one of their questions, with even refusing to react to them one bit. As a few of the police officers that are basically standing in the one-way mirror glass are feeling quite unsettled. Within soon, in another interrogation room, has that of Yutaro Carson, the young man from before, as he basically just also listening to everything. As one of the police officers begins explaining, saying, "You come on, Utaro. What you went missing for almost that of 3 years. 3 years. A kid your age being gone for that long is quite troublesome, actually. And then when you show up with that of a mysterious woman who radiates quite a dangerous aura. Tell me, is she saying if you call her a villain, you're going to regret it?" As Yusa has that of a pretty intimidating aura as well. Within, soon, the police officer couldn't help but feel somewhat, frustrated, scratching the back of his head, especially feeling like this kid has that of quite the dangerous aura, and yet he's just a 14-year-old. Within, behind the mirror, as it being that of a young couple, a woman with that Japanese features, as she has that of long dark black hair, sharp feminine eyes, and quite an elegant appearance, with also having that of a quite curvaceous body as well, wearing that of a business suit, while the other being that of an African American man, with that of short dreads, a small beard with mustache, as he has that of orange eyes. However, the orange eyes are different is because the orange eyes basically scream fire within inside of them, as he's also wearing that of a suit as well, as these being Yutaro's parents, Devlin Carson and Mayumi Carson, Yusa's parents, with the police officer saying, that's your son, with Mayumi saying, yes, that is definitely my child. Even with just by looking at a glance at him, that is definitely him. With Devlin saying, yeah, that's our son. Even if he's older, we can tell that's him. Within, Devlin saying, where did you say you found him? Saying, in downtown district. He got him and this weird young woman, with that of a long odachi sword that's so heavy that it took several police officers and even deaf arms to even bring it in. We put it in that of the evidence locker, but it seems like nothing we do we're not even able to pick it up, so we just left it on the ground. When we run their credentials, we found Yusa, but when it came to the young woman, within soon, Mayumi saying, who is she? If she's one of the people that kidnapped my son, ma'am, you're not going to believe this, but the young woman is said to be that of a pro hero in training. She comes from the States, if I recall, even though she looks quite Japanese, to be honest. Within, both parents were completely caught off guard with finding out that the young woman that was with their son is a pro hero student. With Yusa, on the other hand, saying, seriously, you really want to know where I'm at? Just give me back my phone and I can I can basically contact the people who have been looking after me for the past 3 years. With the police officer saying, look, son, I understand, but we can't trust the words that you say right now without you telling us what's going on. And I can't tell you what's going on unless you give me my phone. Besides, I'm pretty sure my parents are worried about me since they're right behind that glass. Within, both parents were completely caught off guard, knowing that their son knows that they're behind that of the two-way mirror glass. With then soon saying, you knew? It's not hard to tell. I mean, it's standard police procedure. When somebody with that of a missing identity is gone, you would basically want to know on where they're at. You want to contact their parents. And I've been gone for, like you said, 3 years. So it's best to clear this information from the very people who actually helped me. Why don't you say? Soon, the police officer couldn't help but grit his teeth in annoyance, saying, I'll be right back. As he leaves the interrogation room, soon Yusa couldn't help but smirk for a bit before putting his hands up as he began to snap his fingers. Doing so basically creates that of sparks of flames coming out of his hands. As this is because of his quirk. His quirk, which was originally known at first, his quirk was called that of Cinder, basically allows him to create that of sparks of flames from that of his fingertips after all. If he snaps his fingers, he can create that of bigger sparks after all. However, because of his training with the people who ended up helping him, or rather, that he ended up helping, his quirk now had that of a new evolution. Instead, the name is no longer just Sparks. It's called Inferno. He just now has a better control of it now. And it's all thanks to his new family. And it all started about that of, just as they said, 3 years ago in this world. However, in another universe though, in this universe, quirks never awakened. If anything, the very idea of pro-heroes, or rather superheroes as a concept, is basically non-existent. It's seen more as that of fiction. But instead, there are people that are somewhat superhuman, or rather supernatural. This being mages, as just as there are mages in his world that are mainly staying a secret, keeping that of the mystery of the supernatural and magic as a whole a secret to the populace. And this, it's the exact same way. However, without the awakening of quirks, the Mage Association, alongside that of the church and the clock tower, never truly got bogged down with trying to keep the ideas of magecraft a secret. Instead, it had that of another problem, a problem that would end up destroying all of humanity. This would be the incineration of humanity. All human history would be erased from existence. But one organization stepped in. This organization, which was created by the winner of the Fourth Holy Grail War at the time. His name is Mayor Esprit Andersville, the head of the Andersville family, and was also known to be the Lord of the Clock Tower at the time as well. Using his wish from that of the Holy Grail, he was able to he amassed that of a fortune that would allow him to create that of the security organization known as Chaldea, which would be prepared for the incineration of humanity by preparing that of multiple master candidates to help them become, and summon servants to help them in the time of need when humanity needs them the most. Everything went smoothly until his death. His death was caused by somebody that was close to that of the Andersville family, a man by the name of Licht. But little did anybody know, this man, the man named Licht, was nothing but a pawn for that of Ars Gosha, the familiar, composed of all 72 demons of the Abrahamic faith of Solomon. To Gosha, humanity was a plague, a scourge, unworthy of his master's time and love after all, and wanted to erase them from existence. However, Gosha did not get what he wanted, mainly because he was stopped. Normally, he would have been stopped by that of Chaldea, but due to his pawn known as Lit, he caused quite a bit of damage. The master candidates were too damaged to the point that they had to be in cryosleep. The director of the time, after Marisfield's death, his daughter Olga Marie wasn't even worthy enough to even be a master, and ended in that of an endless death loop. It was done by two young men who were chosen by the will of Gaia and Alaya, the will of the planet and the will of humanity. The first young man was known as Ritsuka Fujimaru, one of the last masters of humanity. As for the other one, this would be our story's hero, Yutaro Carson. Yutaro was basically found in that of, Antarctica. Turns out a few of the remaining, staff of Chaldea was on their way to the base until they found that of Utah in the snow, almost barely clinging to even life at that. Wanting to save the young man, they brought him in, taking care of him and looking after him, thanks to that of Dr. Romani, the medical doctor of Chaldea, who was secretly actually the original director Andersfield's former servant, the first Grand Caster, King Solomon. Suppressing his true power, he just became that of a regular, mortal human, given that he was still maintained by that of his wish, by his own wish by the Grail. to basically remain in the human world until he was needed as the Grand Caster once again. He was even through his time at Chaldea, he actually even befriended the young woman known as Olga Marie. At first, Olga saw him more as a nuisance, given that he didn't seem much of anything and was more getting in the way of the staff of Chaldea for being there. But over time, she began to look after him and also finding out that he also has that of magic circuits due to his mother's lineage actually coming from a long line of Japanese mages. Surprisingly, Olga decided to use him as one of the backup masters in case any emergency. Little to her knowing it's the reason why he ended up in this world in the first place. Originally, Yuta didn't even only wanted to go back home, wanted to go back to Japan, go see his friends, see how they were doing, see his parents. He was scared, if anything. Hell, the staff at Chaldea wanted to help him out, but when they tried looking up his parents, they don't exist. His mother's family name, the mage family known as the Motane, a high-ranking mage family within that of the Japanese government and the Mage Association as well, never had records of him, which soon coming to the realization, thanks to that of, Chaldea's chief engineer and scientist, Leonardo da Vinci, where since the Throne of Heroes is able to bring in many people from alternate timelines and universes, it wouldn't be too surprising that somebody must have found a way to bring that of young Yusa into our universe, with Yusa confused on why he was even brought here or who even brought him to begin with. At first, Da Vinci didn't have anybody. However, this answer would be solved as time went on. Within, all of the master candidates finally arrived to Chaldea, especially a young man who ended up basically on that of the ground floor. Turns out he was found by both that of Yusa and a young purple-haired young woman with that of glasses by the name of Mash Kyrielite, who is an artificial human known as a homunculus, who was becoming that of a demi-servant. But each attempt all failed, making a contract with a specific servant whose job is to aid that of Chaldea after all. But it never worked, unfortunately. But even so, Mash would still be either a master or a demi-servant either way, and would still be part of Chaldea's mission to protect humanity. The last candidate would end up being that of a black-haired young man with that of blue eyes, wearing that of the standard, Chaldea uniform. This young man would be Ritsuka Fujimaru, and big brother figure to that of Yusa, with then arriving at as leading the way to that of the meeting hall to where Olga Marie would give out that of a speech of their duties that they are Chaldea. Ritsuka would end up falling asleep, actually, which soon Yusa had to basically take him out, given that he had basically barred from the first, race shift jump after all, which Yusa was actually okay with too as well. Ritsuka at first didn't understand that of Olga Marie, if anything. She seemed like she was always strict and always angry at everybody around her. With then Yusa basically giving Ritsuka that of a rundown about her life. That she was originally supposed to be a master candidate, but she didn't have the aptitude to be a master. It also doesn't help that her father died as well, without anybody even knowing how he died. So she became director of Chaldea as well. Even though she's only that of 20 years old, she still seems more like that of a young girl. Trust me, she's under a lot of stress, and complaining about it isn't going to help anybody. Just give her time, she'll warm up to you. Unfortunately, that would never come, because this is exactly on what Lick wanted. He caused that of an explosion in that of the ray sphere chamber, just as he would cause that of the multiple candidates of masters would end up getting injured. Olga would end up dying as well during the ray spear jump, causing her soul to be separated from her body. It would also lead to many other things as well. Mash becoming a demi-servant, and both Ritsuka and Yusa becoming the masters, the last masters of humanity. During this time, their main mission, restore human history to the world by going into singularity to singularity and to certain time periods as well, trying to save as many people, trying to find the holy grails and put an end to that of the distortion. Certain events that never should have happened, but ended up happening at that. But they wouldn't be alone. They would summon servants on their missions, each servant that they would end up helping them during their time in the singularity, and resummoning them after their time in the singularity was done. In a way, both Ritsuka and Yusa was able to summon each and every one of the servants. Hell, what even caught some people off guard is that Yusa was able to summon servants that shouldn't be able to be summoned or even able to even exist at that. First example being that of Okita Soji, the first heroic spirit he ever summoned for this first singularity, where Ritsuka ended up making a pact with that of Mash, who the two would end up having that of a pretty beloved and fond relationship, actually, from that of master and servant to something more. It would also be the same with that of Yusa and his first servant, Okita Soji, Alter. Not only that she was an alter ego servant, she was also a counter guardian, a person chosen by the goddess Alaya, the very will of humanity itself, to protect humanity from their own self-destruction by going to certain time periods where certain people were never meant to win certain wars and certain battles, by either cutting them down or preventing them from either happening all forth. At first, Soji was always cold, distant. She was only loyal to that of Yusa, given that he was the one that only summoned her after all. She followed orders as she was always told, to be fair as well. However, that all changed. However, as time went on throughout the singularities, they began to develop more and more from that of mere servant and master into that of a full-on couple, to the point that she devoted both her heart, mind, body, and soul to her beloved master. It also didn't help that Yusa, during the singularities, he also began to age as well, from that of a 10-year-old to that of 11 to 12-year-old, through each singularity completed, finally bringing an end when that of taking down the false Solomon, or rather, Gosha itself, with the help of all of the servants of Chaldea, and even the help of the real Solomon himself. The singularities in the first grand order came to an end, but it came at a cost. That cost was Mash. She gave up her life for that of Ritsuka and for Yusa and Soji too, even for the many other servants that fought alongside them as well. Through this experience, we fought hard, trained hard, and even wanted to prevent something like this from ever happening ever again. However, for Ritsuka though, it broke him. It broke him losing the one person that he cherished and loved the most, after all. Because of this, Ritsuka basically stopped being a master of Chaldea entirely. He started to help out on the sidelines, especially given that Chaldea needed a new director, to be honest. When losing Romani, when he returned back to being Solomon, he needed somebody to still lead. So basically removing his command seals and giving control to that of giving control of all the servants he did summon to that of Yusa. Yusa was completely caught off guard and shocked that Aritsuka would do this, would basically want to move on, but realizing that he didn't have Mash by his side, realizing that he probably wouldn't want to continue moving forward without her by his side. He couldn't fault him for any of that. So Yusa became the true last master of humanity, master to that of all servants of Chaldea. Surprisingly, during his experiences and that of the Singularities, besides getting closer with that of Soji, he also got in closer with that of a few other servants as well, especially those unique ones that he never was supposed to summon to begin with. The first was actually an alternate version of Sir Gawain from the Round Table. Instead of being a male like the normal version, instead they were a female. And not only that, they weren't just their species on the surface, they were human, but deep down they were actually a mythological Welsh creature by the name of the Bargus. That was her name. Fairy Knight Gawain, real name Bargus. She was strict to the point and was always serious for battle. But over time, just like that with Soji, Bargus also lightened up around that of Yusa as well, falling for him just as much as he did the same for the muscular woman as well. There was even another servant that he wasn't supposed to summon to. This being that of Joan of Arc, Alter. Even you would think that it shouldn't be wrong. I mean, they did defeat that of an altered Joan in that of the second Singularity, right? During the 100-year war with France and England. Yeah, but that was the altered version that was the ruler altered version. This was said to be the true altered version of Joan the Arc. The Avenger class Joan Alter. The one who was true, the one instead of bearing the trait of the Dragon Witch, but would have the trait of the Witch of Fire, using actual hell flames. At first, she was kind of over the top, constantly angry, and really, really, really hate basically everybody around her. Even her own master at first, given that he was just a naive kid. However, during traveling through the Singularities, she began to realize that he was more than just a naive kid. He was a kid that always had hope, even hope for his enemies as well. Realizing that naivety comes from that of having hope into other people, even the worst of people as well. But even if that hope doesn't last, he's not afraid to continue fighting back, even standing on the front lines alongside his own servants to fight with them, not alone with them. Because of this determination to be by her side, even in times where he doesn't need to, drawed her to him. It took a while for their relationship to fully stick, but it did. And it wouldn't just be with, those three. Several other female servants would begin to fall for Yusa as well. Especially, he would need them more than they would need him. And it all started when he truly became humanity's last master. After finishing up the Singularities, defeating Navgosha, it was the Singularity remnants that would end up putting a toll through that of Yusa, going through that of Shinjuku, Salem, Argus, and the last one as well. Each of these scenarios would basically put a toll through that of his mental, physical, and spiritual. Many of his servants would try to help him and get him to heal through his experiences, but again, he may put that on a brave face, but he's still a kid. Through this time, he begins to become more jaded and hardened, However, what ended up making him snap was the invasion of Chaldea from that of the association and the church. Unaware when unaware of what has happened after the incineration of humanity, the church wanted to execute that of Ritska and many of the people of Chaldea as well for interfering in that of worldly affairs, but explaining the situation on what has happened thanks to that of Yusa. Especially, they were more surprised about Yusa's existence, that he's not really a human from their timeline, not from any timeline, but from another universe, or rather, another world. Aware of this unique individual, many mages, especially those of the church and the clock tower at that as well, wanted to dissect and want to know how he ticks, especially when they found out that he has a quirk. However, get in the way of his servants though. Let's just say some mage families ended up losing either a son or daughter that day. But even though many people wanted to shut down Chaldea, turns out another problem would end up creating a second grand order. This would because the master candidates of Chaldea ended up escaping and creating their own worlds, their own specific paradises. These would be the Lostbelts. This was a goal strictly from that of the goddess of the earth itself, Gaia, the one in charge of keeping the worlds intact. Realizing that there were multiple Lostbelts created, wanting to prevent these from ever existing ever again, the church, alongside that of the Mage Association, allowed Chaldea to continue moving forward. However, they would have that of multiple supervision from somebody from that of the Mage Association. This being an old fat man by the name of Goldolf. Bit of a stickler for the rules, but he would end up becoming that of the vice director of Chaldea, while Ritska would still become the main director, leading Chaldea after all. While Yusa would still lead the servants into battle. You would think that possibly a 14-year-old moving on to that of 15 to 16 would be able to handle this, right? Even with that of an army of ancient heroes and villains and divine spirits helping him and guiding him, wouldn't be much of a problem, right? You would be dead wrong. Each of the Lostbelts basically pushed Yusa to his limits. It pushed him to even become from that of a kind-hearted, caring person to sometimes be even cruel, twisted. But he would push that twistedness and cruelness behind to realize that there are people that feel like they've been abandoned, that they have been pushed aside, such as that of Kadik, Pepper and Sinnoh, two master candidates of Chaldea, who just wanted to feel like they have a place after all. Even young Faye, who was actually an Apolso, who just wanted to live the good old days back when she still lived in that of China after all, the man she loves. However, there were some master candidates who did need to be put down, some who even cost him something important to him, something he knows he'll never be able to get back, that being his left arm. If it wasn't for that of his caster servants and a few other engineer servants as well, he probably wouldn't be able to even use his arm. Hell, it's surprisingly enough that he's still able to use not just his magecraft and mystic codes through that of the arm, but even his quirk of all things too. Since quirks are genetic, normally an artificial arm wouldn't be able to help you even conduct it through it. But thanks to his magecraft and his magic circuits as well, he's properly able to use his quirk in both hands, both the real one and artificial one. But that wouldn't be the last thing that basically puts him on edge. It would end up being losing one of his servants, one that he always cherished by his side, that he didn't see as a lover, but is more as that of a big sister though. This would be Miyamoto Musashi. Even though she was never his servant, even though she could have done anything, achieved anything, but instead she chose to be a servant of Chaldea unofficially, and she would end up giving her life for all of them. This would be the one thing that would cause Yusa to feel like he wasn't good enough. The one thing that would end up breaking him, making him the same kind, caring person that would still step in to protect others. But he wouldn't do it with the same old smile on his face anymore. He would have more of a calm, cool, and calculating look on his face. He would still be the same, just less expressive. That's all. It also didn't help that his body was also aging through each and every one of the Lostbelts too. From where he first started as that of a 10-year-old to that of a 21-year-old. By the end of the Lostbelts, he would be that of a battled seasoned warrior, gone through that of so many battles and wars that you would think he would suffer from bad of PTSD. And you would be right. He definitely did from time to time. Once again, if it wasn't for his servants and the people of Chaldea, he would have basically let them consume him. As this basically reminded him back in his own world where heroes basically save the day, defeat the villains, and protect the innocent. As the civilians basically cheer them on, tell them that they did a good job, while also having that of a smile of hope and that of, happiness on their faces. To Yusa, back then, being a pro hero was so damn simple that they didn't have to deal with any of this. They didn't have to deal with the fate of an entire world, an entire universe, entire history based on his shoulders. They didn't have to see that of good people, good innocent people basically die right in front of him, unable to do anything to protect them and save them, even though he should have the power to do so. None of them would understand what it's like to basically see an entire world destroyed right in front of you, even though they're worlds they were never meant to exist. No hero from his world, the supposed heroes of his world, wouldn't understand the things he had to do, the things he has done, the things he could not stop. None of them would know. All of them are so damn ignorant what it truly means to be a hero, because sometimes glory and glamour doesn't come with being a hero, and especially when you're around that of history's greatest heroes and villains and entities experience the exact same thing you've gone through as well. You would think at the end of the Lostbelts, and also bringing in that of Caddick and Pepper and Sinnoh, of even taking down the remaining masters who refused to basically come in quietly, you would think it'd all be over. Unfortunately, things are never that simple. And this is how it all started. After several months of bringing back those of the remaining masters of Chaldea, and even bringing back several servants too, to come for the service of Chaldea as well, summoning them once more, even the Lostbelt servants too. Caddick and Pepper and Sinnoh actually ended up wanting to make amends for their crimes. They didn't want to make amends for them being in that of a jail cell, but they want to do it by helping out Chaldea like they were meant to do. They chose to be part of the security organization after all, so why not? So why not do it like how they were supposed to? They'll be monitored and basically strictly looked after, especially by the servants that they had, such as that of Anastasia and Ashvatama. They would go easy on them, of course, but since they're now, Yusa's servants, they would listen to him and him first. But given that, Yusa also trusts the two former, cryptors after all, he would also give them full control over their former servants as well. Well, at least that of semi-control, given that, again, it's Yusa that's still their full-time master. As it being just another day at Chaldea, another anomaly happens. As You would think that this would be the beginning of another grand order, but it's not really that's the case. Turns out it's one world that Gaia wishes for Yusa and Chaldea to investigate and keep safe. She believes that this world is on the verge of becoming a Lostbelt. And even though it's not supposed to be, wanting to know why this world would become a Lostbelt, she wants that of Chaldea to investigate it. But not wanting to bring almost all of the servants of Chaldea, just like they did with that of the Lostbelts, they only brought that of a select few, some that would help them. Wanting to know what this, new Lostbelt, or rather as they now dubbed it, an anomaly, this world would be. However, Yusa, on the other hand, knows this world all too well, as it being a figure of a certain hero that he knew and grew up basically idolizing, this being the hero Endeavor, and soon after another hero that he knew, such as that of Best Genius, and then another such as Edgeshot, and many, many more, would soon land on that of All Might, as this would be his home, his world, the original place where he's from. Some of the servants were actually quite happy knowing that their master would be going back home, but to Yusa, he told them that he's not going back home. He's just doing another job, just another mission as humanity's last master. Nothing more, nothing less. Hearing the stone tone from that of Yusa, many of the servants couldn't help but feel somewhat saddened, while some can't help but feel somewhat heartbroken knowing that their young master, which was all full of happiness, joy, and everything else, now is basically cold-hearted. On the surface, he's cold-hearted, but deep down, he's still the kind and caring and loving person, and always smiling deep down. He just has to become more serious about things like this, as he believes it has to be. Within, heading to that of the storm border, thinking, I'm aware of how this world works. Even though I was 10 at the time, I began to think about everything, how the world works. I even remember certain things too. Heroes basically are more like civil servants. Once we arrive, we can't just go all willy-nilly like we always have, fight against that of certain demonic beasts, creatures, and many other things as well. And I have to make us educated guess as well, we're not going to be dealing with servants, hopefully. But to them, they're not going to think that you guys' abilities in magic craft, and even magic as a whole, are going to seem like quirks. So they'll probably try to arrest us. Within, soon, Da Vinci Lily speaks up, saying, so what do you plan to do with then? Soon Yusa looks at his mentor, within, saying, we're going to need to be there at least a little bit early. Take time and try and research everything. Or better yet, we need to create our own hero agency and basically make each and every one of the servants that we bring there, either that of hero students in training or pro heroes as a whole. Within, hearing that, a few of the servants couldn't help but be caught off guard, shocked, and wonder what the hell is he even talking about. As Yusa basically goes down on how his world basically works, on how they see that of heroes. Some of the servants were pretty skeptic, some were actually quite impressed, while some were more realist, realizing that they're not really heroes but civil servants, while some think of them as nothing more than just over-glorified stage actors pretending to be heroes. Let's just say a lot of servants were kind of pissed. Some even downright refused to even go down there unless they were ordered by that of Yusa, even with the threat of that of a command seal, given that some servants are needed for this mission after all. So, Operation Hero Invasion starts in the next couple of weeks, which Yusa would bring at least that of several servants. Some that would be able to help basically manage and control that of an organization. They're going to make that of Chaldea a hero organization, composed of several heroes all across the world, starting with that of a small team of servants that would be that of pro hero teams, while some main that of stay as that of information, while they basically gather information on wonder on what's the cause behind this world turning into that of a lost belt would be, while also gathering information on dealing with that of villains and villainous organizations in the shadows as well. However, they would also need that of figureheads. Even though Yusa is basically in charge of Chaldea as a whole, they won't basically listen to that of the government and to the world. They wouldn't think that a 21-year-old himself is basically in charge. However, there is a chance that he may revert back to his original age the day that he basically disappeared from the world that he's in after all. So there might be a slight chance. Not wanting to take any chances like that, Yusa needs that of several of his servants to play that of figureheads or play that of the role of leaders. He has wanting to make sure that it stays even and stays understandable, not wanting it to be only one person, because if one of his servants end up becoming the main leader, let's just say chaos is going to run, and he knows on how some of his servants act when they become mad with power, not wanting to pointing the fingers, Gilgamesh. He'd rather be safe than sorry. So the figureheads for the Chaldea Security Organization Hero Agency would be run by that of Sherlock Holmes, James Moriarty, Sage King Gilgamesh, his caster class, and Chen Xing Huang as well. They would all be kind of stabled emperors that would help out. They're basically stable leaders, especially with the help of, surprisingly, James and Moriarty actually could work well with that of the public scene, while that of, Gilgamesh and Chen Shi Huang would basically keep everything in check, while that of Yusa is basically out with all the other servants, especially when his other servants are out on the field pretending to be that of pro heroes. Some of them choose their own pro hero names, while some of them choose their actual names as that of their pro hero names, to be honest. Which is kind of easy, to be honest. Take up the name of a famous hero that already is your name, which works out pretty easily, but some were kind of skeptic and were pretty paranoid, so they chose that of different names for themselves. Just rather be safe than sorry. Just totally understandable. But even so, it looks time was of the essence, and Chaldea became now with all the hacking and programming, thanks to that of our Mooncaster servants. Chaldea was fully part of the Hero Global Commission. Chaldea would be known as an international hero group that go from nation to nation, helping out whenever they can. This would be the cover that Yusa would use for his servants to keep them out of trouble, and for him, and also to be used as his own cover. I'm pretty sure that his life has been turned upside down, especially for his parents, and also especially for his two best friends at the time. Well, I should say at least his one only good best friend at the time, that being Izuku Midoriya. Knowing on how much the kid has basically gone through being quirkless, wondering if he's still even alive to this day, given on how quirkless people are treated in his world. You just can't help but wonder if he's all right. But his wants can come later. Right now, his main reasoning is to wonder on where the abnormality that's causing his world that's trying to turn his world into that of a lost belt, prevented from happening. This was their goal and mission. His mission. Back in the police station, as Yusa's still waiting in that of the interrogation room, within entering the room again, with Soon saying, "All right, kid, here's your phone. If you try anything, you will. Don't worry, I won't." With then Soon just pressing one number, as it already went to that of to that of a quick call already, within putting on speakerphone, placing on the table before answering, being that of Sherlock, saying, My. It seems you've already gotten that at the police attention. We've already seen on that of the news on what you've done, Yusa. Saying, sorry to trouble you, sir. Just need you to clear up some things for the good officer here and explain on where I've been. With then the officer that's in the room, still a little bit skeptic, as then Sherlock speaking, saying, Of course, dear boy. Officer, can I get your name? Saying, right. My name is Officer Tayumi Karido. I arrived on the scene about a villain having that of a hostage situation until that of 3 individuals ended up getting involved in the situation. One of them ended up getting both kids out of the way, while a young woman was planning on saying, that would be one of ours actually. She's a hero student that's working under us for the time being for the year or so. Her name is Sayu Okita. Her main goal is to look after that of young Yusa, since he was originally a kidnapped victim from that of a slave trade about that of 3 years ago. However, the incident caused quite a bit of strain on him. We wanted to make sure that he was properly safe before returning back to home. But when you're around that of a group of international pro heroes for years, the young man basically has that of the idea of heroism to wanting to protect a lot of innocent people after all, especially when people are in danger right in front of him. Surely you can understand the situation. So you have to say, I see. So you're saying that we've been looking after the boy for quite a bit of time. We thought we would basically return him back home, at least for now, at least to his home nation. We'll still be looking after him. After all, he may be a civilian, but he's actually one of us now. Surely you can understand that, officer. With then, soon, hearing that, they'll think, of course, my apologies, officer. I should have introduced myself. I am the pro hero, the detective hero, Holmes. One of the 4 leaders of Chaldea. It's a pleasure to meet you. Now, I think it's about time we also explain the situation to the young man's parents. Am I correct? With then, the officer saying, of course, sir. Sorry to cause you any trouble. It would have been better sooner than later if you allowed him to contact us to explain the situation easier when you arrested him. Saying, of course, sir. I'll make sure to do better. No, don't make sure to do better. Just do better. That's all we can all ask for. With that, soon, the officer leaves within, then removing the phone, turning off the phone from speaker, within putting it to the phone saying, you had a lot of fun with that, didn't you, Holmes? Saying, can you blame me, master? It didn't. I know law enforcement was always, easy to bend to the will around me, but there were some that were always a little bit skeptic around my skills and abilities after all. True enough. I've seen that the first step has now begun. Yeah. Once I meet with my parents, and we need to explain everything to them. Not about what happened to me, but about the story we made up for them. As everybody searched for the so-called anomaly, they're still working. They've already started to get a feel of the whole heroism thing. I still can't believe that you wanted these servants to be in teams, though. Hey, I think it's about time they understand what a true hero team is all about. And I also feel that some of our servants need to also relax a little bit and have some fun as well. That's why I feel like these servants need to be in teams. Simple as that. Within, Holmes couldn't help but sigh, saying, if you say so, master. Well then, I'll meet you when we can. Of course. Also, get at least a few other servants to come as well. Act as that of bodyguards. Understood. With then, soon, Yusa hangs up, saying, using an old phone like this instead of using that of a communication screen instead. is kind of nostalgic actually. With then soon putting the phone back up, saying, as he internally thinks, I really am home. After all these years, I'm finally back. Didn't expect that all too much. As he couldn't help but look up to the ceiling, without him realizing it, still having that of a blank look on his face, but his eyes say it all. He's truly, truly home. With his eyes basically watering up. Not tearing, just watering up. Realizing that he's finally back where he truly belongs. Or is it really where he belongs? And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Love to read them. So, how did you guys like this chapter? This is more of a quick dive through everything that has happened, through that of, well, Fate Grand Order and the certain changes as well. So yeah, Mash died at the end of the Singularities after all, with the final battle against that of, well, Gosha. That was one of the biggest debates I had with myself. Should I keep Mash alive or should I not? That I was really struggling with myself if I should allow that to happen. But I come to the realization, yeah, I had to kill off Mash, which soon basically set Ritsuka to no longer wanting to be a master, and where he actually became the official director of Chaldea after all, where Yusa is the true final master of, well, humanity. And it's through those experiences, through that of the Singularities, Remnants, and Lostbelts, basically hardened from a hero hopeful that used to see the good, that tries to see the goodness and happiness and basically see the positive side, to a battle-hardened warrior who basically wants to get the job done while also still trying to see hope and kindness within people. But if there's none, he's not afraid to basically end somebody's life or just discard a person's life as well. So yeah. Also, let me bring up something about the supposed servants who are going to be in hero teams. Some hero teams will have more of the spotlight through this story goes on, while some are just more of a way to flesh out that Chaldea is more than just a typical independent international hero group after all. Some of these team ups are just for the fun of it. Also, I'm bringing up this now. Some servants will be shipped with some characters in this story. Some My Hero Academia characters as well. I won't say who or how many, but yeah, some. As for the girls who are going to be, as for the servants that are part of Yusa's harem though, I'll explain them in the next chapter, but you got a feel for at least that of 3 of them. The rest will be explained sooner or later. Or for those who are way too damn curious and wants to know now, I'll just post at least a select few of them on that of my, well, community page instead, through that of the images. So, with all that said, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification to keep up to date with my videos when I upload on the channel. Also, please check out my Discord, gaming channel, main channel, my other channel, Patreon, and Cash App. All linked in the description below. So, with all that said, this is Liamuki, signing out. Later, guys, and hope you all take care.